With 11 Australian-based clubs in the A-League men, none is from the country's capital. It's a unique situation when you think of national leagues all across the world. You'll be hard-pressed to find one that doesn't have a team in the nation's top flight. Even New Zealand's capital is in the A-League, but Australia's isn't. I'm talking of Canberra, of course. Canberra, with a population of over 400,000, has been outside Australian soccer top flight competition for almost a quarter of a century. But it's not for a lack of trying. But when the nation's capital has been in the highest level, it's never been short of a bit of drama. It's not like the city isn't a football city. It's produced players like Tom Rogic, Nikolai Topol-Stanley, the Valeri brothers, Eni Bernal, and Croatian legend Josip Suminic. But how does Canberra not have an A-League men's team? Well, today we're diving into the tumultuous history of Canberra teams competing and also trying to gain access into the NSL, the failed expansion bids to join the A-League, and the frustrating uncertainty for the city, especially for its A-League women's team. First, let's go all the way back, almost 50 years. In May 1976, the ACT Soccer Federation started work on a new club that would compete in the inaugural National Soccer League that would kick off in 1977. Playing as the Canberra City Soccer Club, the Federation wanted the club to be accepted in principle as a member of the new competition. One of the arguments in the Federation's application was that Canberra was the nation's capital and, as such, should have a place in a national competition. But the argument didn't hold up with the NSL Planning Committee. In June 1976, at an NSL Planning Committee, the ACT Soccer Federation was unable to secure a place for Canberra. Officials decided to restrict the NSL to just 12 teams, with 5 from Sydney, 3 from Melbourne, and 2 from Adelaide and Brisbane. But everything changed for Canberra when it secured $80,000 in sponsorship in July 1976, securing a place in the inaugural NSL season and reversing the subcommittee's decision to exclude Canberra the previous month. The decision to accept Canberra was a shock to ACT Soccer Federation Football League chairman David Dillon. He arrived at the meeting in Sydney expecting to be told the nation's capital would not be in either a 12 or 14 team competition. His expectation was based on the belief that Sydney heavyweights IPL Leichhardt would nominate and that another Melbourne team would be added to take the competition to 14 teams. On August 24, 1976, Canberra City Soccer Club was officially formed at an inaugural meeting attended by 30 people. The meeting was not advertised or publicised due to the Companies Act, but about 60 interested people were told of the meeting, being given notice varying from 1 week to a few hours. Foundation memberships were offered for $200. A month later, a story in the Canberra Times revealed that there was hostility between the local ACT clubs and Canberra City. Local clubs believed the organising of Canberra City was done in a secretive manner. One unnamed source, a club coach, said clubs were not supporting Canberra City at all. Quoting him, he said, "Many feel that a gradual rise, perhaps through the proposed state league, would have been better." The coach said, believing that a newly established club being included in the NSL was unfair instead of choosing an already established Canberra team. This was despite Canberra Deakin, one of the leading clubs in ACT soccer, not submitting an application. But the big problem facing Canberra City, unlike the other NSL founders, was it wasn't an already established club with top players and coaches. It had no firm financial backing and only promises, and to face the prospect of trying to attract new spectators when existing supporters of the game weren't interested. Canberra City was the only club created specifically to compete in the new competition. It was based on geography, in a time when the leading clubs in Australia were based on their ethnic origin. But this didn't faze Dillon, who would eventually become the club's first president. The Australian public will support soccer if they see quality football marketed professionally, he said in Canberra's NSL application. The public will be quick to see that the proposed members of the 1977 league merely represent ethnic groups, and the Australian public as a whole would not identify with an ethnic group. Hence, the promotions manager will not be able to market his product adequately. The National League needs support from the migrant communities, but not at the expense of losing the potential Australian market. Canberra's first coach was legendary socceroo Johnny Warren, and the squad was a bag of relative no-names. Some players, like Tony Henderson, Ron Tilsed, Jim Cant and Oscar Langon, were genuine imports brought to Australia specifically for the purpose of playing in the NSL. Others, such as English defender Mike Black, Croatian midfielder Ivan Grujic, and Fijian forward Kenny Kawaliva, came up from local and state league sides. Canberra City adopted blue and gold for its playing strip, the official colours of the ACT, while the newly built Bruce Stadium would be its home venue. but it wouldn't host Canberra's first ever NSL game. On April 2, 1977, Canberra walked out onto Manuka Oval against West Adelaide in front of just 1,550 fans. It wouldn't be an easy task, with West Adelaide featuring up-and-coming star John Kosmina, who would ultimately sign for Arsenal in February 1978. He scored within the first 7 minutes of the match, taking the honours of the first NSL scorer. West Adelaide would hold that 1-0 lead to the break, but 8 minutes into the second half it was 3-0. Ivan Gruicic's 76-minute goal was a mere consolation as Canberra lost its inaugural match 3-1. It was a woeful season for Canberra, finishing 13th and 2 points clear of Mooroolbark, who was ultimately relegated back to the bowels of Victorian state leagues. Canberra was almost demoted, but in actual fact they were protected from relegation. This was the case for Newcastle and Wollongong in the coming years, due to the three cities being designated as a development area. In the first 8 seasons of the NSL, Canberra was technically in a relegation place 3 times, but by 1985 there would be no protection from relegation. In 1982, after years of financial issues, Canberra City Olympians Proprietary Limited was formed to try to overcome the financial difficulties experienced by the previous owners of the club, the Soccer Club of Canberra Limited. Under the terms of the contract, Downer Olympic, the previous name of Canberra Olympic FC, and Canberra City would have a 50-50 ownership of the club. But by August of the same year, Canberra City had relinquished its 50% interest in the club, meaning Downer had full ownership of the club. The club would become known as the Canberra City Olympians. After 3 years with the controversial conference system, the NSL decided it would revert to one single competition. Canberra finished 10th, winning just 5 of its 22 games. It was ultimately a relegation spot, and the club was demoted to the New South Wales State Leagues. A week after the grand final, which Adelaide won 3-2 on aggregate against Sydney Olympic, Downer, the club's backer for the past 4 years, pulled out saying costs were too high. In that time, Downer had spent $600,000 on City, well beyond the income generated by the club. If that money had been invested in Downer, we would have a place here by now, Club Secretary Tazo Samos said. Canberra City played 1 season in the New South Wales State Leagues before returning to ACT in 1988, where it has remained since. 4 years after Canberra City was relegated from the NSL, Canberra Croatia, formed by Croatian immigrants in 1958, put in a bid to join the national competition in the middle of 1990. But the bid was rocked when ACT Soccer Federation President Ron Watkins said he would not support it. Deakin, as it was then known, was playing in the New South Wales State League at the time, and Watkins said Deakin's bid was not a concern of his federation. He said the ACT would be going along with its own plans to get a team in the NSL, and that Croatia was free to support that, but it would be as an equal partner and not the dominant one. After almost a decade without representation into the NSL, Canberra was given a licence to compete from the 95-96 season with the formation of the Canberra Cosmos. But the Cosmos' entry was thrown into doubt in May 1995 when Canberra Croatia once again lodged a bid with the Australian Soccer Federation to join the national competition. It was one of 13 proposals at the time, which included Preston, Port Melbourne, IPA Leichhardt, Blacktown City, a team from Newcastle, and Cosmos. But the Federation chairman Ian Holmes stressed that only one Canberra team would be chosen. A month later, David Hill, the new chairman of the Federation, confirmed that the Cosmos bid had won out ahead of Croatia. Hill urged Croatia to resolve its differences with the ACT Soccer Federation. But Croatia President Tony Pratizina said he was disappointed the ASF board chose not to consider his club. He said Croatia and a number of the other ACT clubs had grave doubts about the capacity of the ACT Soccer Federation to launch the Canberra Cosmos. Those financial concerns became apparent with the Cosmos having no direct sponsorship 6 weeks out from the start of the 95-96 season. The club needed to generate around $400,000, with $100,000 investments from the leading clubs in the ACT, including Canberra City, Belconnen United, and Canberra Croatia, who had warned of the Cosmos' financial situation. While Canberra City and Belconnen pledged $100,000 to Cosmos in November, Croatia voted not to. Despite Croatia's unwillingness to fund Cosmos, the new NSL club was in a much better financial situation though. On the field, the Cosmos had a horrendous start to the season, failing to win any of its first 8 games. Relief came against Newcastle Breakers on November 25, when Cosmos won 3-2, with talismanic midfielder Paul Wade scoring a hat-trick. Wade would score 11 goals in 28 games, as Cosmos finished the season in 9th, from 12 teams, ultimately 19 points short of a final spot. But the club would ultimately fold at the end of the 2000-2001 season, primarily due to financial difficulties. Throughout the club's tenure in the NSL, the club failed to attract supporters and had limited on-field success. While it wasn't a foundation club for the 2005-06 season of the A-League, Chairman Frank Lowy and CEO John O'Neill identified Canberra as a future destination for the competition at the time. The first bid to join the A-League for Canberra, was established in 2008, with Ivan Slavic installed as the bid's chief. But after 3 unsuccessful bids, which was ultimately won by Gold Coast United and North Queensland Fury in 2008 and the Western Sydney Wanderers in 2012, Slavic wound up the bid. Slavic would later tell the Sydney Morning Herald in 2015 that he would be wary of dealing with the FFA again. The bid generated $5 million of capital consisting of government and corporate support, as well as foundation memberships, while a petition was signed by 20,000 people. The bid ultimately fell $1 million short of the $6 million target set by the FFA. The second bid to join the A-League, Canberra and Capital Region A-League bid, was founded in late 2016 and formally submitted its bid to join the A-League in May 2018. Michael Caggiano was the bid leader, and he revealed that the new Canberra team would be built around a community ownership model similar to the Bundesliga's 50+1 rule. By August, the bid had attracted 5,000 members, with over 100 volunteers working on the bid. Then Celtic player Tom Rogic, who was originally from Canberra, came out and supported the bid too. The Canberra bid made it all the way to the final round of bidding, but ultimately lost to Western Melbourne and Southwest Macarthur. But despite missing out on the A-League again, the bid was confident it could join the A-League by the 2021 season as the competition's 13th team. Lo and behold, this never eventuated. The third bid to join the A-League, Capital Region Football Collective, was founded in 2020 by the same bid team from the second bid. The third bid formally made an offer to the FFA for a licence on the 25th of August 2020, but was unsuccessful. Once the APL took over administration of the competition, the team put 2 bids up to them to obtain a licence in 2022, but was, again, unsuccessful. A fourth bid, an unnamed bid started up by former Socceroo Andy Bernal, tried to get a team. The bid was also headed up by Anytime Fitness CEO Richard Pell, the current operator and funder of the Central Coast Mariners, who was set to hand back the Gosford-based club back to Mark Charlesworth at the end of the 24-25 season. The bid proposal is for a wholly private consortium ownership model and it would have incorporated a business and football plan. Mate Telecommunications was named as a financial backer of the new bid, but lo and behold, this bid didn't have any success. Okay, 4 bids so far. That's a lot to keep up with. Have you kept up? Well, let's go to bid number 5. Gosh, so many bids for Canberra. Poor old Canberra. In March 2023, the APL announced it would be expanding the competition from the 24-25 A-League men's season by 2 teams. It was announced that the preferred location for these teams would be Auckland and Canberra. Well, the 24-25 season is well and truly underway, and while Auckland FC became the league's 13th team, Canberra remains absent. In June 2024, A-League boss Nick Garcia confirmed the club wouldn't be ready for the 24-25 season and pushed the club's entry back a season. However, without any formal announcement of an owner as of February 2025, it seems unlikely Canberra will be able to join in the 25-26 season. This is on top of the uncertainty around Canberra United, the A-League women's team, the only club in the competition that doesn't have a team in the men's competition. Canberra United is the only A-League club run by a state or territory federation, Capital Football, and it cannot financially support the club without the help of additional funding. While it received a one-off $200,000 bonus from the ACT government so the club could go ahead for the 24-25 season, Capital Football CEO Samantha Farrow couldn't guarantee the club will exist next season to the Canberra Times as recently as February 11, 2025. Farrow said the club needed new ownership or yet another major funding lifeline soon or it will fold. Capital Football is concerned that United's financial struggles will negatively impact its community work with more than 15,000 registered players in Canberra. It is hoped that the owner of any potential Canberra team that would join the A-League men's would come in and save the women's team, but with no owner sorted as of February 2025, the future of United remains uncertain. Woe is life for professional top-flight football in Canberra. That concludes today's video. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, why not hit that subscribe button and like the video? It's completely free and helps grow the channel. We also have channel memberships. That's a way you can financially support us, but there's no pressure to do so. But any support will help grow the quality of our videos and will help us put out more video essays like this. We'll see you in the next video.